Check. Hi everybody, mic check. Okay. Mic check, let me know on TikTok, Facebook, BH Live, and YouTube. Okay, we're live everywhere. Just need to know that the mic's working. We're live. Sounds good. App on YouTube, okay. Let me know. Facebook is good. Let me see. Looks good. I don't see anybody. Facebook's still censoring us, apparently. We'll start in a moment. Trying to see what's going on here. Okay. It's going to be an interesting shiur, especially for those of you that like cabala, Zohar, all the mystical, beautiful parts of the Torah. It's all beautiful, but I know some people are particularly fond of the Zohar and different stories from it. All right. Okay. It seems like Facebook doesn't want to work. Oh, Facebook is good. Okay, well, very good. All right. Baruch HaShem. All right. B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, shiur Torah, bruchim habayim. We're back here in BeEzrat HaShem, continuing our series, War of Amalek, certainly an explosive series that is going to shake up some people that are at a loss as far as what's going on in the world today and how it was written in the Torah over 80 years ago and certainly over a few thousand years ago. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the Refuah Shlema and Hatzlacha Rabba for Rabbeinu v'Morenu, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Ovadia ben Levana, Yosef ben Levana, Naomi bat Sarah, and all of Am Yisrael, and also Avi Mori, David ben Esriah, and Imi Morati Doris bat Jorah, and all of Am Yisrael, and all the righteous Noahides, and BeEzrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will also give us the zchut to free these prisoners from the paws of these terrorists in Gaza. Nachshima b'zichram. So just as a public service announcement reminder, some of you that have ordered the Kiruv packages over the last couple of weeks have received the packages. Some of you have not. Don't worry, we didn't forget about you. We're going to send them BeEzrat Hashem. It's just Baruch Hashem been a very busy and lots of stuff to send. So we just have to do as much as we can, as best as we can. Second thing is, anyone that wants to donate and help us do all the wonderful things that the organization is doing, you could donate on the website bhtorah.org or beezrathashem.org, or you can become a paid subscriber on YouTube. You could also donate on our app, which is by far the best place to watch our lectures. There's no distractions, there's no commercials. So certainly a place to watch the app. I know that quite a few people enjoy watching it there over YouTube or TikTok or Facebook or any of the other vehicles. But whatever works for you, use it. As long as you're watching the shurim, that's good. Second, the next thing is also a big mazal tov to our very extraordinary Rav. That now I could also add Mekubal to his name, which I know he's not going to like, so I'm only going to do it once. It's our dear Rav Ephraim just published his first book in regards to the deep secrets of the Kabbalah. This is the type of book that's strictly for Talmidei Chachamim, it's not for the average person. No offense to anyone, it's just simply a reality. And it's not even for all Talmidei Chachamim. It's only people that are at a certain level of understanding and nikiyut that could really go and delve into the world of Kabbalah. This is the type of book that usually someone that's in his 60s, 70s publishes, not someone that's still in his 30s. But Baruch Hashem, our Rav is not only a genius in tzaddik, but also someone that has delved into the secrets of Kabbalah over the years, Baruch Hashem, and has quite a bit that he's gathered over the years. So that's something that's published. We're going to be distributing it in Eretz Israel and a little bit also in the U.S., but really only on an individual basis. It's not going to be in the Kiruv store. It's going to be given literally one by one, unless it's a specific kollel. But anyway, the big news is it's published, Baruch Hashem. Anyone that wants to delve into it can still delve into it. It's available online, on our website. But don't be upset at yourself if you don't understand a single word. It's just not necessarily something that everyone's familiar with. So that's that. And Baruch Hashem, we're working on a bunch of other big projects. Baruch Hashem, that are each and every single one of them is earth-shattering. Each and every single one of them is going to help people. And each and every single one of them is getting closer and closer to being publicized. One of them, BeEzrat Hashem, is going to be publicized literally in the coming days. Perhaps even a couple of them will be. We just need some more siyata dishmaya from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to get that final push. And last but not least, there's going to be a big movie that we've been working on for some time by Rabbi Ephraim, our own dear Rabbi Ephraim, but it's also going to have English subtitles. This film is going to be released very soon. It's actually been completed for a little bit of time already, for the last probably a week and a half or so. I just haven't had the time to publicize it yet. So this is coming out. Look out for it. It's going to be on all of our channels, BeEzrat Hashem, with Hebrew and English, and some extraordinary things that perhaps we're going to review today, also to a certain extent. And that's it. I mean, there's a lot of other things to say, but I know you guys came here to watch the lecture, to find out some more information about Amalek, especially with everything that's going on in the world. Now, if it's not enough that we got attacked in October 7th, and unfortunately some of our so-called allies have really made an about face with their support. We're actually seeing that some of them are not just making an about face, but they're actually outright making threats, like this Rasha Merusha from the Union of Affairs and Security Policy, this Rasha Merusha anti-Semite Joseph Borrell, who made an announcement that after he said he condemns the terrorists from attacking Israel, he condemns Iran from attacking Israel, he condemns the people that are attacking Israel, but now he's saying that Israel is violating international law, and if they don't stop, it is even possible, listen to this, it is even possible, according to Joseph Borrell, it's even possible that the EU is going to send some support. Some support. Support to who? Not to the Israelis. Support to the Palestinians, to the people that murdered us, to the people that raped us, to the people that did all the horrible things they did, and the people that are still shooting missiles at us. For anyone that's oblivious to what's actually going on in Israel and thinks that Israel is the only one that's that's attacking, don't watch the news that's coming from the West, because the news that's coming from the West is simply biased. Even if it's the so-called righty type of news, it's still biased. It doesn't report all the news. There are literally missiles being shot into Israel by these terrorists every single day. There are terrorist attacks in different communities, practically 2, 3, 4 times a week, if not more. Just today, they, Baruch Hashem, literally a miracle in Bet Shemesh, which is a very American Jewish community literally had a miracle happen to them. Not even sure many of them are even aware of it. Where they actually uncovered a bunch of Palestinians that are working in the buildings, meaning they are getting paid by the Jews to clean the buildings, to fix things. They're employees. They're not people that went over the gate, under the gate, and somehow snuck into the place and want to cause trouble. No, these are actual citizens, residents, people that are employees in the Israeli state. And they were planning the same October 7th repeated again and actually doing mock testing. In so many words, practicing, looking, how do you open this door, how do you open that door, where do you go, all this. And literally this was uncovered in the last second. Mamash miracle. So there are all types of things that are happening in Israel that the media does not report. And when it does, it's such a small story, it might as well not exist. Especially when you have EU and UN and even American officials literally threatening Israel, their so-called ally. So now obviously this is all in the hands of HaShem. As the Torah tells us, Yad Melachim, the Melachim b'Yad HaShem, the kings are in the hands of HaShem. HaShem decides what everyone's going to do, who's going to attack, who's not going to attack. This is all Hashem sending us messages that we need to do tshuva, that we need to fix ourselves, that we need to start keeping Shabbat, that we still need to get rid of the idol worship wigs off of our heads. We have to get rid of the Lashon Hara, and especially the Lashon Hara parties that different people have, especially, unfortunately, young Jewish women that apparently find themselves with a lot of time on their hands, and they like to talk, and they like their friends, and they like to drink coffee or tea, or maybe even have a donut, and that's all fine until they start talking about other people, and they start literally vomiting Lashon Hara and Rechilut, one after another, to the point where they're not realizing that even if they're modest, even if they keep Shabbat, even if they're doing all of the mitzvot, they still will not have a share of the world to come for the Lashon Hara that's coming out of their mouth. And that's actually what the Rambam says. Somebody that has said Lashon Hara may have Olam Haba, but that's only someone that may have said it. Meaning, if somebody says Lashon Hara on a regular basis, for sure he has no Olam Haba. Why? Because the amount of damage that people cause with talking about people is insurmountable. In fact, we have quite a bit of experience with this, and many times when people lose their minds and abandon the path that has helped them do tshuva, has abandoned the path that has saved them from all types of mistakes that happen in life, the reason why they typically start getting off the path is because somebody said something. Somebody said something, and that started a domino effect, and then they asked this, and then they asked that, and then they asked this, and then they start, whether it's true, false, is irrelevant, because once you start breaking that red line, that boundary, there's no holding back. And unfortunately, this is why the Chafetz Chaim says that Lashon Hara is worse than murder, than wasting seed and immorality, and even worse than idolatry, all by themselves. It's the equivalent of all of them. Why it's the equivalent of all of them? Because Lashon Hara will easily lead a person to all of them, or at the very least one of them. So this is something, Rabotai Karim, that anyone that wants a slim chance of getting that special spiritual bubble that's going to protect them from these horrific times that we're in, where anti-Semitism is on the rise as if it's an IPO in the stock market with the best product in history. Anti-Semitism is going up, it's popular, it's in fact, people are looking for it. Look at some of the most widely searched topics. You will see anti-Semitism. Look at some of the most popular people that are talking heads out there, whether it be on YouTube or some of the other social media outlets. Look at the ones that have grown the most over the last couple of years. You'll see it's anti-Semites. So the anti-Semitism is going up. It's become accepted. It's even in government. It's even in media. It's even in movies. It's even in kids shows. It's even in your neighborhood. It's even inside your synagogue. And that's what a lot of people simply do not understand, that you cannot fight anti-Semitism with flags and protests. Anti-Semitism is a tool that HaShem brings to the world in order to bring his sheep, in order to bring his people back to him. First, he uses the staff, which is anti-Semitism, in order to get us to realize we don't need to be like the Goyim. We're not allowed to be like the Goyim. We're not allowed to assimilate. Certainly, we have to be honest with them. We don't have to be mean to them in any way, shape, or form. We have to be nice to them as well. Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai would see people and say hello first to anybody, including the people that were not Jewish. So it's not assimilating doesn't mean hating and wanting to kill or wanting to hurt. Not assimilating simply means you stay with your people, they stay with their people, and simple. But what ends up happening is that people assimilate ideology, assimilate diet, assimilate hobbies, assimilate all types of things before they eventually assimilate marriage. Hashem Yerachem. And this is what's happening right now, Rabotai, where the intermarriage is literally at record highs, only challenged by what happened before the Holocaust. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is using assimilation, is using anti-Semitism as a staff in order to remind his children, no matter how much you try to be like the Gentiles, you will never be one of them. Ayolo tiyeh, it will never be. You can wear the baseball hat to the side and your pants down like you just came out of prison. You could wear the glasses with the big gaudy different gold marks on it to make sure everybody knows you could afford $500 or $1,000 for a pair of glasses. You can start rapping as if you came from the projects. You can start acting as if you are not Jewish at all. In fact, you can even mock the Torah, but you will always be a Jew. You'll just get punished for not following the law. And one of the ways that Hashem will punish you is by those very same non-Jews you want it to be like. And it all starts with anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is not a stick, it's a staff. It's a staff. The stick is what happens after. The stick is what happens after, Rabotai Karim, and I don't need to interpret that part, because everyone has a little bit of an understanding of what happened just a few months ago, or what happened 80 years ago, or what's happened countless times over the last few thousand years. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us Torah at Mount Sinai is called Sinai because it is similar to the word sin'ah, which means hatred. When the Torah came to the world, hatred for the Jews came to the world because the Torah makes them special, and therefore the Gentiles will hate them when they're not following the Torah. When they're not following the Torah, the Gentiles will hate them. When they follow the Torah itself testifies that the Gentiles will praise the Jews. What a worthy and holy nation and smart people these are, as it says in the book of Deuteronomy. So now, Rabotai Karim, we understand that there are problems. But with all of what I just said, the biggest problem of all is not the problem outside. It's not anti-Semitism. It's not Hamas terrorists. But rather, it's the internal turmoil of self-hating Jews and Erev Rav and Amalek being within us. Because if it came down to a war, this week's parashat Bechukotai, says that if Am Yisrael follows the Torah, just like Hashem said we have to, we don't have to be afraid of war with anybody. Because 5 of us with the tzitzit, just with the tzitzit, kippah, modest, you don't need anything else. 5 of us can destroy 100 of the enemy. 100 of us can destroy 10,000. How? It's happened. Rabotai Karim, look at the Midrash Me'am Loez, where there is a section called the Wars of the 12 Tribes, the sons of Yaakov. Look at the story of Chanukah, where the Maccabees were very, very few, but yet they destroyed the biggest, most powerful army on planet Earth, which was the Greek army. Anytime we needed to win a war, we did not need many soldiers or super weapons or atomic bombs or special relationships with any type of other country that may or may not help us when we need them. Anytime we won a war, we only won a war because of HaShem. But yet, Rabotai Karim, what people do not realize is that we are losing. We are losing wars left and right for years already. As the commentator, an expert on Middle East affairs, Eliyahu Yosyan said, Israel hasn't won a war in 30 years. 30 years we haven't won a war. Well, guess what happened in the last 30 years? In the last 30 years, even though there's many people that have done tshuva, unfortunately the government of Israel declared war against the Torah. So if somebody wants to win wars, they have to stop looking at the weapons of mass destruction, but rather look at the weapons of divine assistance. And that's in essence one of the things that we have to start talking about. Rav Elchanan Wasserman has already covered the first 3 sections of this Kuntres. Omer Ma'asai Lamelech, I say, my work is for the king, as it's called. And he told us why he's doing this, why he wrote this instruction set of how to fight against Amalek before the end, stamped into history. How to fight the last war against Amalek and all of its different parts, including the Nephilim, the Anakim, the Erev Rav. How do you fight this war? He told us first and foremost, if you're going to fight this war and you want a chance to win, you have to fight the war for the sake of heaven. Meaning, because you're willing to sacrifice anything in order to sanctify Hashem's name. Not to sanctify your name, not to make yourself popular, not to make yourself money, not to make yourself known in any way, shape, or form. Nothing. For you, only for Hashem. Secondly, you have to understand that it's not really a matter of you should fight, but rather you have to fight if you want to survive. Those who do not fight against Amalek during this time before Mashiach arrives are very unlikely to survive. Why? Because part of that fight will literally be in your own backyard, sometimes even in your own living room, in your own synagogue, in your own city, wherever that city is. So a person needs to know that there is an urgency to fight this, and you have to have it. Now, the Kuntres is now going to give us some more details of how to identify who the Amalek is, who is Erev Rav. Now, of course, we've gone over the general description of Erev Rav, of Amalek, those that are trying to build their names, those that are, constantly doing things that are against the Torah. But here the Rav Wasserman delves into the mystical, delves into the world of the Zohar Kadosh, the world of cabala. And he quotes it in the pretty much virtually the entire 4th section is a couple of paragraphs from the Zohar Kadosh where we are introduced to a teacher you're familiar with, but perhaps have not heard this name. Who is this teacher? Aroe Ne'eman, Raya Me'amna. Who is Aroe Ne'eman? This is the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd is the teacher here. And the Good Shepherd came to visit Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the cave. During those 13 years that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was in the cave, He came in order to teach him different secrets of the Torah. And in fact, we see in the Zohar that this good shepherd kept coming back into the cave to teach Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, many secrets. And this time, he also came with Eliyahu Hanavi. So you have the good shepherd, Eliyahu Hanavi, both coming from the world of truth, the world with no limitations, and they're visiting Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son in the cave. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that sacrificed everything for the sake of studying Torah, sacrificing his own body. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu made many miracles for him, not only sending him the good shepherd, Eliyahu Hanavi, and others to teach him Torah, but even helping him celebrate Shabbat by turning the carob tree into figs, just for Shabbat, for him to enjoy it a little bit more. And Arav Elchanan Wasserman wants us to get to know who this good shepherd is. We know that all of our patriarchs were shepherds. Whether it goes all the way back to Hevel, Noach, you have Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the 12 tribes, everybody was a shepherd. Moshe Rabbeinu, many shepherds. David HaMelech, one of the most famous shepherds. So who is this good shepherd? So Rav Wasserman brings the Zohar Kadosh, Parashat Naso, page 125b. And I'm going to generally just translate it, more than just repeating the words in Hebrew or Aramaic, just to save the time and get to the point. Amar Eliyahu Hanavi, El Araya Me'amna. Eliyahu Hanavi said to the good shepherd, הרי אתה היא שעת רצון לעלות למעלה למעלה לישיבה של מעלה לעורר את הגאולה. לכן בשבועה תשביע אותי לעלות למעלה. Eliyahu Hanavi says to the good shepherd, and they're both in the cave, right now, I can see in Shemayim it is an opportune time to go to the heavenly yeshiva and to awaken the desire to bring the ultimate salvation. And therefore use me as the messenger to go there by making me a vow, like obligating him through a vow, by using the name of HaShem, that I have to go up there. Because if I just go up there by myself, it'll depend only on my merits. Even though Eliyahu Hanavi is Kodesh Kodeshim, apparently the good shepherd is higher than Eliyahu Hanavi. He's higher than Eliyahu Hanavi. He says, you make me, obligate me to go up there and awaken the desire for the ultimate salvation and bringing the Mashiach. Because what makes this an opportune time? Because now I see you and I see how much you're suffering, how much the good shepherd is suffering. And that's enough of a reason for HaShem to bring the salvation. Just simply because of how much you specifically are suffering. Now, of course, all of the idol worshippers from the New Testament are certain that this good shepherd is referring to their idol, but that's their way where they simply just stop midway of verses, midway of teachings, and just conclude. That's not how Am Yisrael does it. We go through the whole thing to understand who, what, when, and how. כי נתן לי הקדוש ברוך הוא רשות להתגלות אליך בבית האסורים שלך, because הקדוש ברוך הוא gave me permission to unveil myself to you in your prison. היינו, בהיות משה ראיה מאמנה, מתנוצץ ב-60 ריבו נשמות ישראל. What is he saying here? Says the Zohar Kadosh. He's saying here, this good shepherd is Moshe Rabbeinu. That's who the good shepherd is. And this good shepherd is suffering endlessly. Why is he suffering endlessly? Because the spark of his soul is in every one of the 600,000 Jews. Obviously, there's split neshamot. There is, in so many words, when it says shishim ribo, it's saying all of Am Yisrael. The spark of Moshe Rabbeinu is inside every single Jew. And therefore, his neshama, Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama, suffers extraordinary suffering. Sovel et tza'ar shel talmidei chachamim b'galut. It's suffering, the suffering of the Torah scholars that are in the exile. Al she'enam yecholim la'asok b'Torah be'iknotetzut koach nishmato, because they're not able to delve and toil into the Torah and take advantage of the full spark from Moshe Rabbeinu that's within them. ונחשב לו כצער גופו בבית האסורים, and this is considered as if his body is suffering inside a prison. ובקבורה שלך, what is this prison? Wherever he's buried, where HaShem buried him. And don't mistake this to be chibut hakever. This is a completely different type of suffering. And we'll explain why it's Moshe Rabbeinu out of all people. Why not Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, David? Moshe Rabbeinu is suffering because of the Torah scholars that are in every generation that are not able to toil to their maximum potential because of the difficulties of being in the exile. The difficulties of whether you live in Israel or you live in America or Australia or England or wherever it is. Today, everything is considered the exile. Even though the land of Israel is beautiful and holy, unfortunately, it's under the control of the Zionists that are anti-Torah and therefore considered the exile. Although on a higher level than the rest of the world, but needless to say, it's still the exile. We're still in the exile until Mashiach comes. And the Torah rules over the world. And until then, Moshe Rabbeinu will continue suffering. Hashem Yerachem. Because the Torah scholars are in between the wicked people that are causing them difficulties and problems. These Torah scholars are causing them problems, taking money away from them, giving them fines, beating them up for absolutely no reason. Shem Yachem, like this young kid, I don't even think he's 10 years old. The police beat him up, arrested him for being in Milon, which even though he shouldn't have been there, nonetheless it's not deserving of the punishment that they gave him. They started beating him up, arrested him. When his father came to get him out, they started beating up his father. Pepper sprayed him, tasered him, literally, like enemies. Brought the kid, little 10-year-old kid, to the police precinct, made him beg on his knees to be released because they were choking him with the handcuffs. An old tzaddik walking there, one of the young, vicious Israeli police force decides to kick him so hard the old man falls on his face and passes out. Why? He's a religious Jew. That's a crime, apparently. In Israel, we're talking about. We're not talking about Nazi Germany. In Israel. And this is not a new thing. Many of these types of stories have been happening more lately than ever. It all started with what happened in Corona. The amount of beatings that religious Jews got from so-called fellow Jews that are there to protect them. Instead of protecting them, these Erev Rav Reshaim Arurim beat them senseless, put some of them in the hospital. Whether it was a child or adult, male or female, is irrelevant. Literally looking like a Nazi place. And the main ones that are attacked are religious Jews. You don't see them attacking secular Jews that are walking around with shorts and a t-shirt, rapping in the middle of the street. You don't see them attacking the Jews that have tattoos on their neck because they think that they're going to be 20 years old forever. You don't see them attacking a woman that forgot her clothes at home. You don't see them attacking. Who do they attack? Religious Jews. And you say, yeah, maybe it's because they didn't sign up for the army. Lies. Percentage-wise, after doing an investigation and literally getting numbers from somebody within the Modi'in of Israel, in so many words, the Secret Service of Israel. Percentage-wise, there are more religious Jews signed up as soldiers in the Israeli army than secular Jews per capita. This whole notion of religious Jews not signing up is a complete fabrication of the truth in order to express hatred of the Torah. They hate the Torah with a passion. Why? We'll get to that. But first we have to understand that all of this hatred of the religious people is causing endless pain to Moshe Rabbeinu. Endless pain to Moshe Rabbeinu. Because when these Talmidei Chachamim are being bothered, hurt, attacked by the Reshaim, regardless of whether it's in the land of Israel or it's in America or it's in England or wherever it is in the world, when Torah scholars are attacked, when the religious community is attacked, it is considered as if Moshe Rabbeinu is buried right next to all of the wicked people. And therefore Eliyahu Hanavi says, you're suffering a lot. Obviously HaShem buried Moshe Rabbeinu. But Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama is so close to Am Yisrael that his spark is in every Jew. And even more so, the Jews that become Torah scholars. And he suffers tremendously as a result of this. And Eliyahu Hanavi says, I see your suffering, Moshe our Rabbi. I want to do chesed by you. Meaning, I want you to make me swear to go up to Shemaim and to hurry up the end, hurry up the salvation. Based on the fact that your suffering is compensating for the sins that some of the Jewish people have done. Not all the Jewish people that mechalel Shabbat and idol worship, but rather the sins of the Talmidei Chachamim, the Torah scholars, the few sins that they have. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he sees a Torah scholar making a sin, he brings upon him all types of poverty and suffering of the exile. And now you, the good shepherd, you are suffering from this punishment that they're getting from their own sins. As it says in the Torah, Ve'u mecholel mi peshaenu, that he is suffering for our own crimes. This is referring to you, Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu responds to Eliyahu Hanavi. Moshe's neshama would unveil itself to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the cave many times and disclosed different secrets of the Torah that he received and nobody else ever had. Moshe is the vessel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu used to bring the Torah to the world. And therefore, any Torah scholar, real Torah scholar, that has a light, a spiritual light from the Torah that he's learning, that light comes from Moshe Rabbeinu. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu used Moshe Rabbeinu as the vessel, if you will. This is obviously Kabbalistic, supernatural, mystical talk, but nonetheless, I'm sure you guys can understand more or less what's happening here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu used Moshe Rabbeinu's pure neshama as the vessel to bring the essence of the Torah to the world. Moshe himself got the entire Torah. What he gave us is the essence of the Torah because we were not able to handle the entire Torah in this material world. But Moshe Rabbeinu had the real Torah, the entire Torah. And therefore he was used as a vessel to share that light of holiness, of Kedusha, to Am Yisrael. Just like the Chidah. The Chidah says that any person who's a true Torah scholar means that they have the spark of Moshe Rabbeinu within them. The Chidah lived a couple of 100 years ago in one of his Sfarim called Pnei David. In Parashat Shmot, in Sefer Shmot, Parashat Tetzaveh, in section Dalit, 4. And he says as follows, word for word. וידוע כי כל תלמיד חכם אמיתי יש בו ניצוץ ממשה רבנו עליו השלום. It is well known that any true Torah scholar, not somebody that just started watching Shiurei Torah over the last few months and read 5 or 10 books. No, serious Torah scholar, somebody that's dedicated many years and endless hours and sacrificed literally everything they have for the sake of learning Torah. A person that can go into the Torah, into any aspect of it, whether it's the Talmud Bavli, Yerushalmi, the Poskim, the Rishonim, the Achronim, the Tosefta, every part of the Torah is within his reach, is within his vocabulary. And the Chidah says that every Talmid Chacham that's a real Talmid Chacham, that means that he has the spark of Moshe Rabbeinu within him. And therefore, the Gemara has commonly mentioned this in many Masechtot, like Masechet Shabbat, page 101b, Masechet Sukkah, page 39a, where they say, Moshe Shapir Ke'amart. What does it mean, Moshe Shapir Ke'amart? Ya'an Nitzotz Moshe Rabbeinu mitnotzetz bo. Moshe Shapir Ke'amart, meaning the spark of Moshe Rabbeinu is within him. Who is this referring to? This is referring to a Torah scholar. Meaning when there is any type of discussion in the Talmud, in the Zohar, in everywhere, you'll see this common terminology, this Torah lingo between the sages where they say, they call one of the sages Moshe Shapir Ke'amart. This one, he's not just anybody. This one has the spark of Moshe Rabbeinu within him. And this comes from, says the Chidah, from the Torah, where it says, V'ata tetzaveh et banai, that you, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, you command my children. Meaning, command my children to take upon themselves to teach their children to become Torah scholars, Talmidei Chachamim. And therefore, your spark will shine within them because they're taking upon themselves a part of you. And one of the ways that the wives can do this, says the Chidah, if she wants to have children that are Torah scholars, of course she wants to send them to yeshiva, best rabbis, but it's also something she can do. על ידי שמן זית זך שידלקו נרות של שבת, ובזה יזכו לבן חכם שיתנוצץ בו אור מניצוצך, ונמצא שהם לוקחים אליך על ידי מצווה זו. The Chidah says, Jewish women to take upon themselves that from now on, they're going to light the Shabbat candles. The Shabbat candles with oil. Not with the wax candles, but with oil. Every Shabbat. Make it special, make it beautiful. When they're using this oil, they could get a reward for that simple mitzvah of getting a shining neshama that their next child will have, BeEzrat HaShem, or even one of their current children if they're young enough and hasn't been ruined by society, chas v'shalom. So every person can do something, but of course, this all starts with the chinuch, how you educate your kids. If you give your kids everything they want, whenever they want, however they want, and instead of telling them that they've made a mistake, you simply try to convince yourself and the rest of the world that they are a special case, they're ADD, they're ADHD, they're sensitive, they're silent, they're too talkative, they're this, they're that, but they're really good behind the scenes that no one ever sees. Don't make excuses for your kids. Call things as they are, but of course, deal with it in a certain manner. But you have to know how to deal with your kids in order for them to become Torah scholars. They're not going to become Torah scholars simply by reading books. That's certainly a requirement, but it's not enough. Chinuch of proper behavior and good midot is a prerequisite for a person to be a Talmid Chacham, needless to say, a decent human being. And many times people get so tired of their kids being rowdy, being crybabies, being this or that, so they simply just give up and say, oh, whatever, they'll grow out of it. Wrong. They will not grow out of it unless you direct them, unless you act like the shepherd. Just like your creator is the shepherd, you have to be a shepherd. With your kids, with your household. And if you're not a shepherd, you're putting your household at risk to get the stick instead. So now, Rabotai Yekarim, Moshe Rabbeinu is in suffering. Rav Elchanan Wasserman now brings this section, which will uncover the teachings of the good shepherd Moshe Rabbeinu about Erev Rav. Amar l'Raya me'emna le'Eliyahu Navi. The good shepherd responds to Eliyahu Navi. Ani mashbi'a otcha b'shem Hashem. I make you swear in the name of Hashem. Shelo te'acher b'kol yechotcha. That you're not going to delay in your efforts to awaken and hurry the end, the ultimate salvation, and you will exert all of your efforts. Ki ani nimtza b'tza'ar rav, because I am in great sorrow. Ki ani mishtatev b'tza'ar tamidei chachamim, because I take part in the suffering of the Torah scholars. Ve'alai ne'emar v'yifen ko v'cho v'yerek ki en ish. And about me it is written in the book of Exodus, chapter 2, verse number 12. And he looks right or left and he saw there's nobody. This means there's nobody that can help me. I'm in a unique position. I need the only salvation that I could ever get, Moshe Rabbeinu says, is if the salvation comes. If the salvation comes, because so long as the Torah scholars are suffering, I'm suffering. And therefore, I obligate you to leotzi oti mitzar hazeh, dainu mizo hakvura. I obligate you to go and do whatever you need to take me out of this sorrow. Meaning, take me out of this awful burial that I have. This is not talking about the body being buried, but rather where his neshama feels like it's being surrounded by wicked people. Because it is said about me by the prophet Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 9. V'yiten et reshaim kivro. Meaning that the good shepherd, the raya me'emna, mitnotzetz betalmidei chachamim, שהם נמצאים בין הרשעים ונחשב כאילו הראי מאמנה, הרי מאמנה קבור ביניהם. Where it's referring to me, where just like the spark of Moshe Rabbeinu is in every Torah scholar, because he was used as the vessel. He was used as the vessel that Hashem brought the Torah to the world. The secret parts of the Torah, the mystical parts of the Torah, the basic parts of the Torah, the Midrash part, everything came to Moshe Rabbeinu. And because of that, any Torah scholar, that's a real Torah scholar, that spark that's within him will light up. And because that spark lights up in every Torah scholar, I feel their pain when they are among the wicked people that are causing them suffering. And it's considered as if the good shepherd is buried among the wicked people. Which means that he has a different type of suffering. What is this suffering? He says, Ve'ena makirim oti, these reshaim that I'm among, these wicked neshamot that I'm among, they don't know me. Meaning, they don't recognize me as anything good, but quite the opposite. ואני נחשב בעיניהם של הערב רב הרשעים, and I'm considered in the eyes of the wicked Erev Rav, the Amalek, one of his sections is the Erev Rav. I am considered ככלב מת שנשרח ביניהם, like a dead dog that's filthy and stinky. כי חוכמת תלמידי חכמים תסרח ביניהם, because the wisdom of the Torah scholars is filthy in their eyes. As the Gemara says in Masechet Sotah, that's going to happen before the end of times. That the wisdom of Torah scholars will be despised. Yirat Shamayim, fear of Hashem, will be mocked. People will be literally enemies of the Torah. And it's not talking about just the Gentile nations that are anti-Semitic. That's just part of the problem. It's not the whole problem. The bigger problem is the Erev Rav. The bigger problem is the ones within us. We've always been our own biggest enemy, because when we do the will of Hashem, all of the nations value us, appreciate us, admire us, praise us, as the Torah promises. That's what happened at the time of Shlomo HaMelech. All of the nations admired the wisdom of the Jewish people, came to visit Shlomo HaMelech. And he had to make a law. Shlomo HaMelech had to make a law not to allow converts. Why? Because if you're converting now, just because we're on top of the world, we have all the money, we have all the power, we have all the wisdom, now you want to convert, you're not really converting because you love the Torah, you're converting because you want to be part of this powerful nation. That's not really an authentic conversion. And Shlomo HaMelech paskin that conversion was not allowed. And this obviously was only during the time that he was king. Once times changed and bad things happened, anyone that wanted to convert was accepted, because if you want to convert while there's anti-Semitism everywhere, while they're butchering Jews in the streets for absolutely no reason whatsoever, you still want to convert. That's obviously because of your love and appreciation of the Torah. And Moshe Rabbeinu says that in the eyes of these Erev Rav, the holiness of Moshe Rabbeinu is despised, is hated to such an extent that they stay away from him just like people stay away from a dead dog because of its smell. Because as Rabbi Ephraim explains it, the hatred of Torah scholars by the Erev Rav is not limited to the land of Israel. It's not limited to your keilah. It's not limited to your community. It's not limited to today. Rather, the hatred of Torah scholars by the Erev Rav is at all times, at all places. meaning it's in the land of Israel, in America, in Australia, in England. It's even in places where there's no Jews. In fact, many of the anti-Semites that are public about their anti-Semitism don't live among Jews, but they still hate them. Some of them never even met a Jew. Showing you, obviously, that the hatred of anti-Semitism, they've done studies on it, and not a single researcher could ever come up with a valid reason of why there's constant anti-Semitism throughout the generations. Because if you would look at the achievements and the contributions of the Jewish people throughout all of history, they've contributed more to society than any of the other nations in history. Without question, without a doubt, including the current generation. Now, of course, the ignoramuses that are ignorant as a result of their hatred do not know this, and even if they do, they do not acknowledge it. And they'll always use some type of excuse of why this is the case. But the reality is, if you're using technology right now to watch me, that's because of the Jewish people. Semiconductors, Microsoft, different softwares that it had, Google, Facebook, literally all the technology that you're using, at some point or another, the Jewish people had a lot to do with it and still have a lot to do with it. Not necessarily always religious. Now, as far as the problems that the Jewish people have sometimes made for other people, you'll notice that the ones that brought communism and all types of hatred to the world have not been the religious Jews, have not been the authentic Jews, but rather the enemies of the authentic Jews. Some call themselves Zionists, Marxists, socialists, all types of different ists names that in so many words are symbolic of their hatred of the Torah and what makes them Jewish in the first place. Now, if you look at the Jewish people, there are literally endless stories that you don't find among other people. One story I just learned, just a day or two ago. True story that was publicized just a few years ago, where there was a religious Jew from the Hasidic community that wanted to join a company that was high-tech, and that was his field. But since it was a very good company, there was a lot of demand. There was a lot of demand from people to work for the company. So they had a meeting where they brought a bunch of people. They filled out a whole classroom full of people, candidates, all had the right expertise, the right resume. And he said, listen, we want all of you to take apart the computer that's in front of you, the laptop, and after you take it apart, piece by piece, nothing left, nothing is put together, every screw, everything, then we want everybody to take a break, go eat some lunch, and then everybody come back to complete the job and put it all back together. We want to see who can put it back together. Well, as you would have it, everyone was qualified to take away the computer. You don't really need technical skills to take away a computer. You just simply unscrew everything. Now, putting it back together is a little bit more difficult, obviously. Requires some skill set. You need to know where it goes what. So after everybody came back from lunch, they all put back the computer together. And of course, along the way, all of these people that are in the class are looking at this one candidate and laughing every time they look at him. Why? He looks different than them. He's a Hasid. They're not familiar with Hasidim. They just look at him and he looks weird. He has weird clothes. He has these peyot that come out of the sides of his head. Strange hairdo. He's wearing this hat, even inside. He has this long beard, which makes him look much older than what he really is. And he's not really interested in talking much to everybody about their life or befriending anyone. He's not interested in having a couple of beers with some of the guys that wanted to have it during the break. Not interested. So every time they looked at him, they laughed a little bit. Look at this weirdo. What is he doing here? What does he know about computers? And everybody laughed. They had a giggle. Ha ha. Funny. It's funny in their eyes that somebody looks different than them. So after everybody came back to work and started putting the machine together. Every screw in the right place, little by little, everybody started completing the machines. And at some point, everyone completed putting back the machines, including the Chassid, Avram. Reb Avram finished the machine, but he had one problem. The problem was that he had one extra screw. And he started thinking to himself, where's the screw? Where did I forget? Obviously, the screw belongs somewhere, and I made a mistake, and he reviewed all of the steps of what he did, and he couldn't figure out where's the screw belong. He opened it up, tried again. Eventually, he ran out of time, and the machine was put together, but there was still one screw left in his hand. And then, the person that was running this interview saw everybody's machines, and told them, turn it on. Everybody turned on the machines, and they all worked. Fantastic. And then he asked everyone in the room, how many of you have a screw left? And only Reb Avram raised his hand. And of course, the scorners and mockers started giggling a little bit more as they realized that Reb Avram obviously does not have the skill set like they do. And certainly, he is not going to get the job. But they were surprised when the manager told them that there's only one person among this entire room full of engineers that is honest. And that's Reb Avram. Because after you all went out to get your lunch and your beers and whatever it is that you wanted to get during that break, I made sure to put an extra screw in every single pile. And therefore all of you have an extra screw. But only Avram said the truth about it. And that's why he is the only one that's hired. When a person follows the Torah, Rabotai Yekarim, he follows the Torah according to the standards and laws of HaShem, you can bet the farm that he's going to be honest. You can bet the farm that he's going to have integrity, because it comes with it. The Torah scholars, the people that learn Torah and dedicate their lives to the Torah, even more so, because the only reason why they're spending so much of their time and efforts and sacrificing literally their lives for the sake of the Torah is because of their love of the Torah and their love for HaShem and their love of fulfilling every mitzvah, literally looking for opportunities to make more mitzvot. But unfortunately, there are many people, Jews and Gentiles alike, that go against these Torah scholars, looking to cause them trouble, causing them trouble. And Moshe Rabbeinu says that when they cause them trouble, when they cause them suffering, I suffer too. And this is not going to end, because the hatred of the Torah scholar by the Erev Rav, by the Amalek, is something that does not have an address. It's literally everywhere, anywhere, and every time, until Mashiach comes. Just like we see in the world today. Now most people are thinking, yeah, well, just stay in your religious community and perhaps you'll experience less hate. That's the mistake many people are making, where they think that the Erev Rav are only among the non-religious Jews. And that's where Moshe Rabbeinu, the Good Shepherd, clarifies. And he says as follows: this is in every city, b'kol ir ve'ir, b'kol makom she'Yisrael mefuzarim b'neim ben ha'malchuyot. This is in every city and every place that Am Yisrael is spread among all of the different kingdoms. And in fact, v'chazru v'na'asu ha'erev rav ro'im al Yisrael שהם צאן של הקדוש ברוך הוא, כי הם ממנים את עצמם למנהיגים עליהם. And the secret number one about identification of the Erev Rav, says Moshe Rabbeinu, that these Erev Rav elect themselves to be the shepherds, the leaders of Israel, of Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael, the holy Jewish people that are Hashem's people, Hashem's sheep, Hashem's flock. As the prophet Yechezkel says, you're my sheep, you're my sheep, you're my pasture. You are Adam, and I am your God. Yechezkel says in chapter 34, verse 31. But unfortunately, this pasture, this chosen people have some leaders that are tzaddikim, that have the spark of Moshe Rabbeinu in them, and sometimes they have leaders that are reshaim, that put themselves in power and became leaders. שנאמר בהם ואתם צאני צאן מרעיתי אדם אתם, שזה נאמר על בני ישראל, that you are my pasture. You are my pasture. And who is this referring to? This is referring to specifically to the best among them, which are the Torah scholars. ואין להם יכולת לעשות חסד עם תלמידי חכמים. Here we see hint number 2 of the second sign of who Erev Rav is, where he says these Erev Rav, they have no ability whatsoever to do kindness for the Torah scholars. So far, if you haven't noticed, we have seen 2 signs. One sign that Moshe Rabbeinu unveils to us is that despite which community you live, whether it's in the Europe or in Israel or wherever it is, whether it's a good community or not so good, you could pretty much be assured that there's some Erev Rav in the community. Not everyone, of course, but there are some. In fact, if the situation is really terrible, it could even be some of the leaders in the community, those that made themselves the board of directors of the synagogue and made the Torah scholar that dedicates his entire life to learning Torah and living Torah, they made him like an employee. He's just a rabbi, he's an employee. Why? Because these Amei Haratzot ignoramuses, they want the position. They decide what speakers, what heretics they're going to invite to the community. They can decide on all types of forbidden parties. And the poor rabbi that's supposed to lead them is limited, because if he says one word that they don't agree with, he's simply going to be out of a job. So the first sign that we see about Erev Rav is they have money, power, to the point where they put themselves in leadership positions of Am Yisrael, of the pasture of Hashem. They're not just general leaders, they're specifically, he's talking about the leaders among us. And the second thing is, the second sign Moshe Rabbeinu, the good shepherd, says, they hate Torah scholars so much they simply cannot bring themselves to do any type of kindness for the world of Torah. They are limited, literally as if they are spiritually disabled from helping the world of Torah, as if it's cut off from their neshama. But this is obviously their decision as a result of their sins. And they hate the world of Torah, even if they're wearing a kippah. In fact, even if they are a rabbi. As I have one Rasha rabbi that keeps sending me messages every other day. This Rasha Merusha from Arizona that I exposed several years ago because he pretends to be a dayan that converts Jews without letting people know that the other people on his bet din are not even Jews. And they're converting people. He has missionaries in his keilah. He keeps sending me more and more messages till this day. All types of delusional messages. All types. And unfortunately, he succeeds in misleading still some people in the community over there in Arizona. Those that are aware should run away like you run away from the plague. And Moshe Rabbeinu continues and says, leadership and hatred of the Torah scholars, these are things that are obvious among the Erev Rav. Why? Since the Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin, page 31a, says that in order to defeat the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, you could only defeat him with the potion that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created called the Torah, by learning Torah. Where if the Yetzer Hara comes to you like a hard stone, you learn enough Torah and you can crush that stone. If he comes to you like a hard metal, you can learn enough Torah that your holiness of the Torah that you're learning could literally melt that Yetzer Hara's metal. And therefore, only with the Torah does a Talmid Chacham able to fight the Yetzer Hara. Only with the Torah. And since the Torah scholar is constantly learning Torah, even when he's not in the kollel, if he's a real Talmid Chacham, he's constantly thinking about Torah to the point where he does not walk 6 feet without having some type of Torah thought. Even his mundane conversations are full of Torah. As the Gemara says, learn from Torah scholars, even their mundane conversations are full of Torah. So now, since this Talmid Chacham is constantly learning Torah, therefore the Talmid Chacham is constantly hitting the Yetzer Hara and crushing the stone, melting the metal of the Yetzer Hara with his Torah. And this is the reason why the Erev Rav, who are the soldiers of the Satan, they're the soldiers of the Erev Rav, they're soldiers of the Yetzer Hara. This is why they hate the Torah scholar, and they despise him in all places, because the Torah scholar that's learning Torah is constantly hitting their leader, the one that is allowing him to sin, allowing them to do whatever it is that they want to do, and in fact even look like they're benefiting from it. And therefore the Erev Rav literally will do whatever they can to ruin the Torah scholars' plans, whether it's get in the way of different donations and funding that the Torah scholar needs to get. Like sometimes you'll see Reshaim Arurim that come to the live lecture or come to the other videos that we have on the channel, not to watch the video, but rather to make comments and discourage other people from watching and from donating, as if the money is coming out of their pocket. They hate the Holy Torah so much that they will literally go out of their way just to get in the way of the Torah being spread to more people, even if it doesn't affect them. That's their hatred of the Torah. That's their hatred of the Torah. They'll get in the way of campaigns. Somebody's having a campaign, and they tell about, yeah, listen, I'm going to donate to BeEzrat HaShem. They're having a campaign before Shavuot to help some Torah scholars in Tveria. There's a few hundred families over there. I think I'm going to donate 1,500 because everything that they say they do, they've done. And the Rasha tells them, whoa, 1,500? Why? Why don't you diversify? Take $500 and you can give this organization, hopefully they do the chesed you're saying they're going to do. Take the other 1,000 and give it to other people. Maybe even give it to your wife. Doing chesed with your wife is also good. Maybe do chesed with yourself, buy yourself another watch. Maybe we can go out and have some drinks together. You can do chesed with your friend. After all, technically, I'm the one that gave you the idea. And they literally will discourage somebody from donating for the sake of Torah. And when sometimes they see that they're not going to succeed, they'll do whatever they can just to change the destination. Okay, you know what? I agree with you. You have to do chesed, but I don't think this is the right organization. There's a much bigger organization that I heard about, and even though there's no proof that they're doing anything that they're doing, and even though they have more than enough money that literally I don't even know if they have enough time to do what they say they're going to do, donate to them. Why? Because I know somebody that works there. And they'll do whatever they can just to get in the way. Get in the way of the Torah scholars. Get in the way of the Torah being spread. They'll get in the way of the yeshiva. Yeshiva tries to be open. You tell them, listen, my kid is going to go to this yeshiva. Oh, that yeshiva? Oh, I guess you didn't hear. No, what I didn't hear? No, fine, I don't want to say Lashon Hara. I don't want to say Lashon Hara. Okay, but you just started already. You said, yeah, you didn't hear. You're making a face like if I'm sending to my kid to Gehenom. where they're going to sacrifice him next to the idols of Baal. Why are you saying that? No, I'm not going to. It's fine. Do what you want to do. If you don't know, it's okay. It's not my job to tell you. And even though he doesn't really know anything, he just wants to get in the way. He wants to get in the way. She wants to get in the way. He wants to get in the way. The rabbi says, listen, we need to raise $5 million so we can do a lot of good things to help Am Yisrael. And they see, listen, you know what? I can't donate $5 million. I can't even donate $500,000, but I can put $100 a week or even $100 a month and send it to them. I can help a little bit based on where I stand. Somebody comes to them and says, come on. What do you think? $100 is going to help them? What's it going to do for them? They need $5 million. They need $10 million. Honestly, I think they're probably going to need even $25 million. That $100, you can help a lot of other people with that. They don't need that much. And they'll literally discourage people from donating for the sake of Torah. People are going to the shiur. Where you guys going? Yeah, I'm going to shiur Torah. Oh yeah? Who's talking? It's Rabbi such and such. Oh. You guys like him? Yeah, he's great. He says some nice things. What? What's wrong? No, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know you guys liked him. I mean, it's kind of weird that you guys liked him. And he starts saying all types of convoluted things, sometimes not even saying something outright bad, but just doing what Amalek does best, which is take away the fire of Torah, take away the pleasance of going after the Torah, of toiling for the Torah, take away the Mesirut Nefesh, take away everything that the Torah requires for us in order to win the war against Amalek. And Rabotai Yekarim, this unfortunately happens in every community, and I would dare to say even in every neighborhood. Certainly there are some that are better than others, and there are some families that are better than others, and some people that are better than others, but we've all failed at it at some point or another. And Moshe Rabbeinu, our dear Rav Moshe Rabbeinu, says this is a trait of Amalek. This is a trait of Erev Rav. If you've done this once accidentally, okay, stop it. But if you've turned into one of these people that always has something negative to say about the Torah, you may very well be a member of the Erev Rav, even though you haven't even paid the dues yet, and you didn't even get a card, a membership card. But you certainly are a member of the Erev Rav. Now Moshe Rabbeinu continues and says, these people that hate the Erev Rav, hate them to such an extent that they cannot bring themselves to do any chesed for Torah scholars. In fact, it's the opposite. They get in the way. Meaning, שמחרימים הערב רב ביניהם, כלומר שעושים גזרה בחרם, שאם יבואו תלמידי חכמים לבקש צדקה, שלא ייתנו להם במקומות רבים, אלא דבר קצוב מקופה הכללית של מקום ההוא, ולא נותנים להם רשות לקבץ מבעלי הבתים העשירים, כדי שלא תהיה תקומה לנפילה שלהם ואפילו חיי שעה. He says something shocking. The hatred of the Erev Rav is to such an extent. And here we're talking about not the ones that have a Nazi flag. We're not talking about the people that are protesting against Israel in Columbia University and Harvard. We're talking about Jewish people within the community. We're talking about people that will sometimes have a kippah, a beard, and even be a rabbi. In fact, later on, Moshe Rabbeinu says some of these leaders are actually dayanim of communities. And they hate the world of Torah to such an extent, they hate the real Torah scholars that are fighting for the truth of HaShem to such an extent that they pass all types of laws against them among themselves. What is this decree that they pass against them? that if these Torah scholars would come to their community asking for tzedakah, we're not going to let them go everywhere to collect whatever they want, especially not from the rich people in the rich houses, but rather we'll allow them to collect tzedakah from specific general donation box in order to limit what access they have to the community, so they do not succeed while we fall, and they do not have even the joy of a single hour. Shem Yirachem. Here you see Moshe Rabbeinu literally unveiling one of the worst possible traits that exist in mankind. Not only they don't give, not only they don't like, not only they hate, but they do not even want anyone else to watch the shiurim. They do not want anyone else to donate. They simply will do whatever they can in order to make that Torah scholar, that Torah organization fail, or at the very least limit their success. Even if their success has nothing to do with the Erev Rav. He lives in America and he wants to do good things in England. No, I'm not going to let him. He lives in England and he wants to do good things in Israel. No, I'm not going to let him. He lives in Israel and he wants to do good things in America. No, I'm not going to let him. Why? But what do you care? Erev Rav. Says Moshe Rabbeinu. The prophet Jeremiah says in the book of Lamentations, Eicha, chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. כפז איכה נחשבו לנבלי חרס בראש כל חוצות. How is it that the most precious gold, it's even, paz is even more valuable than gold. The most valuable of all possessions, the most valuable gold that there is treated even less than clay. How could that be? Says the prophet Jeremiah. Meaning, how could it be that the Torah scholars, those that are more valuable than gold, those that the world exists for their sake, how could they be attacked, disrespected, and literally hated to such an extent that they cannot even find a normal place to live, to pray, to build? How could it be that they cannot go anywhere aside from being among a few of their own? How could it be? It's because of the Erev Rav, who are rich and have put all of their confidence in their wealth. והם בשלווה, בשמחה, בלא צער, וכלא יגון כלל. And these Erev Rav, they look like they're having joy and comfort and happiness, as if they have no suffering. But in reality, gazlani me'arei shochad, these people, these Erev Rav, are thieves. They take bribes. Dayanim, Reshe'ama, these are actually Dayanim, Jewish judges. Not all of them, obviously, but here Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai has in the Zohar, in the name of Moshe Rabbeinu, you're going to have judges, Dayanim, that are Erev Rav. Dayanim, Manigim, Rashe'am, not only Dayanim, also the heads of communities, heads of the entire nation, like in the government, like in the court system. Ve'aleim ne'emar, ki mala haaretz chama. And on them it is written in the Torah in the book of Genesis chapter 6, verse number 13. And the land was full of stealing. Itamar aleim ne'emar, Eyu tzadik lerosh, Eyu tzarea lerosh. And on them it's also written that their tormentors, their troublers, became their head. This Jeremiah is saying in Lamentations chapter 1 verse 5. The Erev Rav, they became the ultimate tormentors of Am Yisrael. But yet they also became the heads and the leaders. And the good shepherd, meaning Moshe Rabbeinu, continued saying to Eliyahu Navi, Ani mashbi'a otcha pa'am shenit, I make you swear a second time, in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Master of Legions, the one that sits upon the cherubs, Shekol elu advarim, that every one of these words, Lo yiplu mi picha b'kol yechotcha, not a single word that I said would fall out of your mouth. All of it, you will say, you will pray, you will use all of your efforts to bring this to the Bet Din of Shamayim. Meaning, Lo tishtok militzok u'militpalel lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that you will not stop, and you will not sit silent, and you will not be silent. You're going to constantly cry out and pray to HaShem, in front of HaShem. Lomar otam lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in order to get these words in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ve'la'arot lefanav et godel dechakut shel bnei Yisrael begalutam, in order to show HaShem all of this horrible suffering that His children are suffering in the exile. Of course Hashem knows, but when we cry to Him and bring this to His attention, it serves more value, just like He wanted the patriarchs and matriarchs to pray to Him. He wanted Am Yisrael to pray to Him. V'shimaer ha'geula shlema b'mera tidan amen. And Moshe Rabbeinu finalizes this section. He says, and may all of these words get to Hashem and bring the ultimate salvation immediately. And that will be the final judgment. See here, Rabotai Karim, we were just privy to one of the secrets from the Zohar Kadosh, but also from Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, a person that is not familiar with all that is happening in the world and wants a little bit more proof in the pudding of the hatred that the Erev Rav have for the Jews in the place that they're supposed to have the most love for them, Israel. If there's hatred for Jews in America, in England, it's not a surprise. We're surrounded by non-Jews. Technically, if they don't like us, this is simply what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said is going to happen. Esav sonet Yaakov, Esav hates Yaakov, so it's not a surprise. The surprise to many is that there's more hatred of the religious Jews in the land of Israel than even there is in the exile. One of the proofs is the Israeli court system. Hates Torah scholars to such an extent that it bothers them that a Torah scholar gets $250 per month from the government. It bothers them to such an extent that they did everything they could to get it canceled. The $250, 800 shekels, given to the Torah scholar and his family that you cannot do much with other than buy maybe a little bit of milk, some bread, perhaps some diapers, and that's it. You still have to buy food. You still have to pay rent or mortgage. You still have to do a lot of things. The $250 is not going to get you so far. By the time you got it, it's already spent. But the Israeli court did everything they could to show their hatred of the Torah. Now you can say, wait, but maybe they're cutting the budget everywhere because of the war. Mistake. You see, while their hatred is shown in them going against the religious community and saying that this $250 that the religious people are getting each month is burning a hole in their head, in the court's head, but yet nobody mentions a single thing, not in the court, not in the government, not in the news. No one mentions a single word about the fact that the very same court and the very same government also permits a law that gives terrorists that have actually been convicted, that have killed Jewish people, that have killed and want to kill more, and are in prison. But yet those criminal terrorists are getting a salary from the Israeli government, tens of thousands of shekels each year. What the Avrech gets in nearly 8 months, the terrorist that's been convicted gets in a single month. The terrorist and his family, again, ones that have been convicted of crime, get a salary from the Israeli government. In so many words, they're actually encouraging them to be terrorists. But yet no one mentions a single peep about the fact that we're actually rewarding the terrorists and punishing our brothers and sisters that for them and only them we have the word Jew. Because Judaism does not exist without the Torah. Judaism does not exist without the Torah. It's not a culture, it's not a custom. It is something that was created at Mount Sinai when we accepted the Torah and accepted to fulfill it as HaShem decreed. When a person rejects the Torah, does not accept the Torah, they're in essence nullifying their status as a Jew and being considered in the same category as an idol worshiper. Now this, Sabotage, is just one of the signs. Another sign of clear hatred of the Torah scholars being implemented right now, despite the fact that there's an enormous amount of money that the government gives to all types of causes. If we simply focus on education and we compare the amount of money that the government gives to the yeshivot as public as government funding versus the amount of money that they give the universities in Israel, whether that university is a university that's going to teach the person agriculture or to ride horses or to simply test out what does a horse feel if you throw him out of a plane with a parachute, and all types of other strange things that are not necessarily always required for the survival of the people, let's just say. The amount of money that the government gives the university, of course, it surpasses the money that they give to the yeshivot by a factor of maybe 100 or 1,000, like some ridiculous number. But even if we put that complaint aside, to show the hatred clearly, and that it's not simply that they like university education more than Torah education, but simply to show the hatred of the religious people, all you have to do is go and be in a kollel for a few months. Be in a kollel for a few months and you're going to see. And if you are in a university in Israel, you're not going to see. Why? Because what you're going to see if you're in a kollel is you're going to see a member of the Israeli government surprise visit the kollel and start accounting for who is receiving the $200 per month from the government. Who is receiving it? In order to make sure they're in the kollel. Why? We suspect maybe they're stealing, maybe they're cheating, maybe this, maybe that. And if they don't see the person, automatically they remove the funding, and they even sometimes will actually file a lawsuit against the Torah scholar that's not there that day, even if he's not there because he was sick, even if he's not there like a couple of times in our kollel. One avrech was not able to be there. Why? His father died. He had to bury him. Another time, the avrech couldn't be there. Why? Simple. His wife gave birth. He had to watch the kids. His wife was in the hospital. But no, the government member did not accept these explanations. He wants to punish any kollel, any Torah institution that does not have their Torah scholars in there for at least 45 hours per week. 45 hours per week. If not, they remove any grant that was given to them, this measly $200. And what makes things worse, they even will sue some of these Torah scholars to get them to pay back the government retroactively. Literally trying to implement as much hatred as possible to damage the Torah scholar. Now, what about the universities? If you spent a month or even a year in a university, you will never find the government checking in on the university to see if the attendees that were mentioned in the application by the university are even part of the university. Even though each one is getting tens of thousands. No, we trust the university that does not even believe in God. We trust them. But the Torah scholars, we don't trust them. This obviously shows clear hatred. And if that's not enough, you think about it. What did I just say right now? They are demanding that the Torah scholar has to learn in the kollel for 45 hours per week. That is 180 hours. If you divide up $250 at 180 hours, what is this whole hatred about? Paying the most important people on planet Earth, the people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself says that if it's not for my Torah scholars, the rules of the world will cease to exist. Im lo briti yomam v'alayla chukot shamayim v'aretz lo samti. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if there's no Torah scholars in the world, I'm simply going to destroy the world faster than what I did at the time of Noach. Rabotai Karim, what do they want from them? $250 approximately for 180 hours. That is $1.38 per hour. Literally, something that even the lowest level of employee in the country or anywhere else that you have Jewish communities would ever get paid. But that's, Rabotai, the problem. That's, Rabotai, the problem. Now, when Ben Gurion, Yimach Shimo, when he was following the footsteps of all of the other Zionists that came before him, like Herzl Yimach Shimo, that wanted the Jews to go to Uganda. He didn't care about the land of Israel. He didn't care about Judaism either. He wanted everybody to convert to Christianity. Now, he died before all of this happened, as far as the land of Israel, but Ben Gurion came to replace him years later, and eventually Ben Gurion approached the Torah community and said, listen, why don't you let us fund your Torah institutions? And the Torah scholars, who already knew that you can never believe somebody like Ben Gurion that does not even keep Shabbat, somebody like Ben Gurion that has no Yirat Shamayim whatsoever, they said, absolutely not. We will not allow you to fund all of our Torah institution. Maximum you can fund to give you the merit is 1/3. 1/3, that's it. Why? Why 1/3? Rav Shach explains, because one day is going to come, and this sudden generosity from the Erev Rav that cares less about Judaism is going to come with conditions. Now, if you want the funding, you have to also learn other religions. Now, if you want the funding, you also have to go and fight in the army. Now, if you want the money, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do all types of things that are against our tradition, against our laws, against our Torah. And therefore, it is inevitable for this so-called generosity from the government to end at some point just like it did today. And if we rely on 100% of the money of the yeshivot coming from the government, then we're going to be in dire straits when they stop. because not only will we have to come up with 100% replacement, but also all of the people that believe in us, follow the Torah, they're not going to be used to donating because we've been living off of the government for all this time. So the people stop donating. There's no need if the government pays for everything. And therefore, Rav Shach and many of Chachmei Israel did not want the government to assist to such an extent. But of course, everything that Rav Shach said and the Chachamim said about their fear of what the Erev Rav will one day do, everything they feared has happened and is happening. And this, Rabotai Karim, is all because the Erev Rav hate the Torah. Hate the Torah to such an extent that they cannot coexist with it in peace. And they have to cause trouble. And says Moshe Rabbeinu, the Good Shepherd, if you want to win the fight, you have to know who you're fighting. You have to know who you're fighting. You have to have the right motivation of why you should fight, why you have to fight. But most importantly, you have to check yourself and your own household to make sure that you're not following in the footsteps of the Erev Rav by being stingy, by being against Torah scholars, by being against the Torah itself. Even if you're wearing a kippah and keeping Shabbat, you could still be an Erev Rav. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, may you have children that learn the right ashkafa, the right traditions, the right Torah. They can follow in my footsteps, says Moshe Rabbeinu. And thereby my spark will be within them. And you will be privied to live among a small Moshe Rabbeinu that came from within your own household. Thank you very much for learning with me. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless each and every single one of us to succeed in doing the right cheshbon nefesh, the right self-accounting, to see where we all stand and what we need to fix. And even more so, Rabotai Karim, it's very important for us to do everything we can to show HaShem that we really are pained by the fact that our prophet is suffering, the Shekhinah is not among us, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself cannot spread his name everywhere and have everyone learning his Torah because we have not fought hard enough against the Erev Rav. The way to win against the Erev Rav, aside from identifying, aside from fighting, is using the ultimate weapon, which is to publicize Torah. Get yourself some of the USBs, the books, and even this lecture and others, and share it with as many Jewish people in your community and outside of your community. People you know and people you don't know. Because at the end of the day, Kulanu bnei ish echad nachnu. We are all the sons of a single man. Chazakim u'buchim, and Be'ezrat Hashem will learn again later this week. Call to B'cha B'atzlacha.